Welcome back to returning listeners and welcome to new listeners. This is 1 year on. I'm Alison. And following on from episode 5, today's episode is about grappling with what actually happened to me, how I navigated using my phone to be in touch with people, and how my phone became a total lifeline. Given that much of the day was spent alone, I wasn't able to drive, and the only places I was taken to were medical appointments. I was also unable to concentrate on anything for any length of time. So reading wasn't possible. The only thing that I could do was interact with my mobile phone. There were so many people sending me messages wanting to know how I was, even people who I hadn't told what had happened to me. They had heard from other people. It was easier to send SMSs because it was a conversation I could have not in real time. I could spend a while getting the message correct. I didn't have to respond right away, and I could take my time crafting the message. It was really hard to even use the phone. I have at least 100 apps on my phone, and easily over 50 of those I interact with on a daily basis. To say I am a heavy user of my phone is an understatement. I'm a tad addicted to that device. Banking, shopping, messaging, FaceTime, emails, short messages, social media, news sites, functional information, currency exchange, not one, but 3 weather apps, and various apps for authentication for my work. Let's just say I use the phone a lot. The interesting thing I found was that in the early days, I would even be hitting the wrong button to open an app, and would find myself in an app I didn't even want to be in. So a lot of the time was spent changing apps to the one I wanted. Remembering passwords for various things was extremely hard, and I have mentioned that before. I'm sure I was on the verge of being locked out of my online work account due to the number of times I messed up the password. Sending SMSs was the easiest way for me to respond, and I found I was having a hard time spelling words correctly. Now, I'm a stickler for spelling words correctly. Proofreading was my thing. I would normally be the one with the red ink correcting other people's writing. And of course, while doing this, you are the most loved and the most hated person. I mean, no one likes their work corrected, even though they've asked you for that to be done. But I was the best one at doing it, so even in any workplace where it wasn't my job to proofread, I would end up proofreading. So, it was a very strange thing to find that it was no longer the case. I stumbled over the easiest of words. I hated predictive texts. I still haven't managed to work that out. I simply liked to spell out a word, and this was going wrong so many ways. I'm sure I would have written something hilarious to someone during this time. Using my phone to communicate in written form allowed me to control the narrative in that I could deal with the conversation one part at a time. Because I wasn't out in the world, I sought solace in the online world. I could dip in and out, seeing what was going on, what people were doing, and that was definitely something I could cope with. It gave me people I could connect with and places that I could go, things that I could do. Receiving phone calls were terrible, and I slept a fair bit of the time, so I ended up putting my phone on silent and sleeping in the den, not our front room, because that meant that the dogs would rest with me and not be barking at any person out the front of the house. People walking their dogs, the postman, the bin lorry, any delivery driver. It's a quiet yet busy street with something always going on. Much quieter for me to be resting out the back with the dogs. Telephoning a business was even harder, and I would be fumbling with phone menus, membership numbers, the questions the people on the other end of the phone would be asking me, and the complex information they would be presenting me. I started a workbook in which I wrote down everything that I needed to do, who I needed to speak to, and the essential information I needed to know. This was the only way I was able to navigate those calls. Their phone menus still are extremely irritating. With only 3 things that I'm able to remember, when you have a menu that comprises 5 things, I simply couldn't work out which menu to choose. More than once, I just hit any button to get out of those awful menus and actually start speaking to a person. I also provided feedback to the staff that their phone menus are hellish for people who get overwhelmed with options. Having people come to visit was nice and terrible all at the same time. Lovely because these people were friends and I was starved of social interaction, having my husband and kids as the people I would see every day. Friends were lovely and really happy to visit. However, seeing them put so much pressure on my healing brain. Not only did I have to have the conversation in real time, in hearing what they were saying and in formulating my response. Remember at first that I had no thoughts. I had to look at them, another stimulus, consider their facial expressions and their body language, consider my own facial expressions and body language, and consider their reaction to me, how I was after the stroke, and how I presented. In the end, it got too much, and I had to stop having people visit because I simply couldn't cope with the strain on my brain and the overwhelm of that. Thankfully, that got better in time, but in the first couple of months, SMS was the best way I could communicate. I think because I was using my phone so much in those early days, I created my own neuroplasticity and forced my brain to work properly through so much repetition, lots and lots of repetitions. Thank you for listening. If you have enjoyed this episode, please like, share and subscribe. I will be back next time to describe how I handled going out to the one place I went to that wasn't a medical appointment, the farmer's market. Thank you.